They had a network, dude. They had a network. They had a network of people that were organized. They had a network of people that would span all the way to the Japanese Red Army. They would take over planes like crazy. That was the name of the game. In any case, it's Victory Day. And what do I mean by this? We are talking about violent resistance against colonial occupation, violent resistance against American colonial occupation, American imperialist occupation. The country I'm talking about is Vietnam. This is a video that I've been meaning to watch for some time now, and I think this is a perfect time to watch it. From Uncivilized, How Vietnam Teaches Palestine to Fight Invaders. Now, the reason why I think it's an interesting video is because you might notice some similar patterns here. I'm actually very interested in talking about the propaganda surrounding the Viet Cong in American news, because as you know, the North Vietnamese Liberation Front was comprised of numerous different entities, and it was broadly defined as Viet Cong by, Westerners. And what's interesting about it was that they, of course, were also, doing battle in southern Vietnam. Southern Vietnam was where the overwhelming majority of bombs were dropped by the United States of America, despite the fact that southern Vietnam was also de facto a puppet state for the United States of America, led by a psychotic freak, okay? A psychotic freak that was very unpopular and was engaging in a mass torture regime. Now, today is Vietnamese Liberation Day, Reunification Day, whatever you want to call it. It is the day where the northern Vietnamese forces finally were able to push the American imperialists out of the country and unite the nation under the beautiful banner of communism, under the watchful eye of Uncle Ho Chi Minh, who I think he passed away like right before reunification, right? Am I wrong? I might be getting the dates wrong. When did Uncle Ho pass? September 2nd, 1969. He died of a heart attack in Hanoi at the age of 79. He was failing in health for some time. By the time of his death, he had already ceded control of the country and the war to his successors. All right. Let's continue.
About the story of Vietnam. There's something about the story of Vietnam.
He died the day it was liberated after he tried to do the stanky leg in celebration. Okay, shut up.
The story of a country that fought and defeated countless Goliaths.
Theirs is a people's army.
Going up against mighty armies, using guerrilla warfare and tunnels.
Your past, which is these tunnels,
is your present.
Is our present.
To fight for their liberation and achieving it.
You see the lotus? The lotus is in the mud, but the lotus is not dirty by the mud. Even though we have been so war-torn, we are not punished by it. Wow.
While our people are still fighting our own Goliath, we wanted to learn, how did the Vietnamese do it? And what happens once this Goliath is taken down?
This is different.
What does a national identity built on liberation and resistance look like when the country's at peace? And is Vietnam really at peace?
There's a new disturbance of the peace. And it's this.
We traveled to Hanoi in the north and Saigon in the south with our friend Quyen.
Didn't expect this heavy shit this year.
To explore Vietnam's story of liberation and the story it's writing now.
Rolling? So we're in Hanoi, your hometown. We're calling Grabs, which is a motorcycle, basically taxi.
Yeah.
And when you called the guy, what did he say to you?
He said đồng chí, which means comrade.
Comrade, he called you comrade. I love that.
Comrade. I forgot that's how we address each other here.
You've been gone for too long.
I've been in Saigon for too long.
Party in the morning in Hanoi. I love it. All the aunties are doing Tai Chi in the morning and dancing. You gotta stay fit, just in case they have to fight colonialism again, just in case the French come back.
Hanoi is a city that's thousands of years old, that's lived through and expelled many occupiers, including...
I will say one thing, and I hope nobody gets mad at me for saying this. But the greatest invention, the greatest food invention of all time did come from the French occupation, the banh mi sandwich. I know it's up, but you know, I'm the type of guy who looks at I'm the type of guy who likes to look at the silver lining, and banh mi's are so goated. It's hard not to recognize it. Like it is every time I bite into a banh mi sandwich, I think to myself, like, you know, it really really up for sure, but they made the most of it. You know, that is pretty incredible. Sorry, let's keep going.
Including the French.
Not even a top 10 food item of all time. Dude, my life changed after I had that banh mi in Australia. Alexa has a banh mi place near their house, and it was so good. I still think about it. I think about it all the time. I had never actually given enough close attention, the serious attention it deserves to this delicacy, okay? To this decadent experience. And it was so goddamn good. It was so good. I still think about it to this day. Australian banh mi. Listen, I've never been to Vietnam, okay? Give me a goddamn break. Give me a goddamn break. Australia, fairly close, okay? Australian Asian food is pretty goated. What are we talking about? There's hella Asians in Australia.
They arrived under the banner of a civilizing mission, but were really there to exploit the natural resources and labor of the country.
They worked from dawn till dusk, but they did not have enough to eat.
While French companies like Michelin Rubber made millions in profits from factories and plantations.
The French left their mark in ways that are still visible in Vietnam, whether through the architecture.
You can tell it's quite French looking.
Yeah, it was clearly modeled after the Opera House in Paris.
In Paris, yeah.
Or through the missionaries that led the colonial incursion.
So Peter and Paul, and then you have the two Vietnamese priests on the other side.
Wow.
These are two Middle Eastern men.
Holy
but they look
smoke.
white. They look white. So this could be me.
Yeah. And then that's
And that's you. This is colonialism in a nutshell.
And then there's the ways the Vietnamese incorporated that French influence into their culture.
The banh mi.
Bang means pang in French.
Which is bread.
Bread.
And this one has egg.
Right, she said eggs.
Meat.
Said meat, so pâté.
And pâté.
Pâté, right, which is French.
Very French.
Right. You take a bite.
You have
No,
the
so our culture, we have the guests have the first bite.
Okay.
Okay, you get
Okay,
a
here
bite.
we go.
Yeah. Right. And you can begin to differentiate the different tastes, right? Yeah.
Very tasty.
Right, tasty.
Very tasty, huh?
Telling stories like this wouldn't be possible without our supporters on Patreon. To help us continue doing this work, you can join as a paid member and get access to exclusive content and unseen footage from episodes like this. Now back to the video.
People just sit out and hang out here. It's
Yeah.
much slower in terms of pace.
Yeah. When you go to any places, any cities, you can have a sense of what this place is about, what's an invitation of this place. And every city has a different whisper.
Thank you, Auntie. Come on.
Come on, go. The invitation of Hanoi, if you pay attention to the way people do things and set up, is come to us and appreciate our heritage, tradition, culture.
Okay.
Hanoi is the political capital of Vietnam, home to the government today and the birthplace of the resistance that removed the French colonizers.
Uncle Ho is everywhere.
You know, Uncle, in many ways, to me, was a genius in that way, because he knew that the only way to get through the Western colonization is to be one of them. It's like we got to blend first before we ask for our own independence, right?
A hero of wartime resistance, Ho Chi Minh.
Ho Chi Minh was a Vietnamese communist revolutionary who, after spending years abroad, returned to Vietnam when it was under momentary Japanese occupation during World War II. He founded the Viet Minh, a communist guerrilla force which drove out the Japanese and then went up against the remaining colonizers, the French.
I looked at him and said, President Ho, how can you possibly fight war against the modern French army? You have nothing. You've just told me what a poor country you are. The French have planes, tanks, napalm. How can you fight the French? And he said, oh, we have a lot of things that can match the French weapons. Tanks are no good in swamps.
They fought for 8 years before the Viet Minh defeated the French and ended almost 70 years of French colonial rule. Going up against mighty armies wasn't new to the Vietnamese. Besides the Japanese and the French, they'd gone up against the Chinese and later the Americans, coming out victorious. But the French had a particular brand of cruelty that's still visible in the city today.
And this building used to be a French prison.
Yes.
Still in Hanoi, I think called Hell on Earth.
Yeah. This place was viewed as a symbol of displaying power, right? But also for other people see this is what happens when you rebel against the French.
The French.
So there is some public displaying element.
They staged public executions. The severed heads were photographed and printed on postcards, which soldiers sent home to sweethearts in Paris with kisses from Hanoi.
Like, obviously...
Dude, European colonial violence is so insane. It's actually, like, this is such a common... It's such a common meta. It is such a goddamn common meta. Like, these had human zoos, bro. Like, in Belgium and shit. They had human zoos. And, like, not that long ago, for the record. Isn't that crazy? Like, we like to think about how, you know, Western liberal democracy is so enlightened. And, like, the unimaginable barbarity, the unimaginable barbarism of European colonialism is so crazy. It's so fucked up. It's like, dude, that is so much more barbaric than like anything people claim any anti-colonial resistance force has ever done. Anyway, sum the point.
After the war and everything, we can just throw this and
there are animal enslavement zoos which are barbaric. There's animal death camps going on right now and you're supporting them. You're ignoring this reality. Why aren't you vegan yet? Yes, dude. I'm doing a chicken holocaust, okay? Every day up in here. It's the same. I'm a speciesist, brother. I am a speciesist. And so are you. Vegans get in their own way because normally we haven't had like a lot of vegan chirps. We haven't had a lot of vegan chirps in this community in quite a while. Old heads remember Austinox is the OG vegan chirper, by the way. Vegans suck because they're objectively right. No. They are morally correct in terms of environmental concerns. They're perhaps correct in terms of I don't know, like animal welfare in general. But if you meet someone who just goes, "I'm a speciesist," I feel like it's the ultimate counter. You went to war with Bao? Oh my God, that was such a long time ago. Holy shit. Yeah, Bao. God, this really was a debate pervert community when you think about it. My point always been the same. As long as I can have the same macronutrients, ease of access, that also tastes good, I don't give a I'll eat whatever the hell they make in a lab. I don't have to eat chicken. I eat chicken every day. That should allow you to understand. I don't give a like I don't eat that much beef anyway. I eat mostly chicken. And I'm perfectly willing to just never touch meat ever again. Never touch an animal product ever again. If there was a real alternative that has the same exact macros. You ever barbecue? I mean, I didn't say I'd never eat meat or beef. Yes, I with barbecue, especially Korean barbecue. Oh my God, my mouth is watering. Holy. All right, let's just continue.
Turn it into another building.
Yeah.
But there was a choice by the government to keep this. And the question is for what?
This is fascinating for me because as a Palestinian, I see this. I'm still fighting my fight against colonialism now, right? And I see this and I'm like, wow, they liberated themselves from the French and the Japanese and the Chinese and the Americans. And this is a symbol of it because it was on hell on earth, right? Hell on earth. And it is for me, wow, this is what post-liberation could look like, right? Yeah. We can have a museum one day that says,
oh wow, now I'm touched by what you said.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so now you haven't gone to the stage where you can put
a museum up.
You know, when people can commemorate something, that means they have moved on.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think the purpose, and I feel moved by it. Is that what we have is very fragile. And we want to remind ourselves that what we have It's very fragile and it can change again. Yeah.
After the French were defeated by the Viet Minh, Vietnam was divided into two. North Vietnam, led by Ho Chi Minh, established a communist government with strong ties to the Soviet Union and China. And South Vietnam, led by an anti-communist Western Allied ruler, which was supported by the US. This division
I can't think of like another analog for something that had taken place, like a similar structure where another Asian country was divided similarly. I don't know. I mean, it's not like a one-to-one comparison, but you know.
Launched a second, more brutal war, this time with the US getting directly involved.
If the United States now were to throw in the towel and come home, and the communists took over South Vietnam, then all over Southeast Asia, all over the Pacific, in the Mideast, in Europe, in the world, the United States would suffer a blow.
The Western world calls it the Vietnam War, but to the Vietnamese, it's known as the Resistance War against America to save the nation.
Can you ask him what was his personal feeling when they divided the country in half?
Miền Nam, miền Bắc
không bao giờ mình có thể chấp nhận.
Can never accept it.
Never accepted, no.
Không bao giờ. Bởi vì là một dân tộc.
This is one nation, one tribe. This is impossible, unthinkable, because if you have North and South, you're one country, but then you see each other as enemy.
This is Doan Ngoc. He's the Vietnamese composer behind one of the most famous wartime songs that's still popular to this day.
Would he sing it for us?
Yeah.
Rồi gì?
Đúng rồi.
Năm manh kém trên một chiếc xe tăng như năm bông.
Wow, I can't believe he's singing such an violent, anti-white song. That's unironically what people say when, like, South Africans like sing "Kill de Boer" or whatever. For the record, this is a hate song. I can't believe it's the same principle behind people being like, "Wow, I can't believe the Yemenis have a song about like the Saudis trying to ethnically cleanse them." Like, that's literally the same shit. The only difference is Vietnam is now an established country. So obviously, if you were to run around and say shit like that, even if you said something like that about North Korea right now, people will look at you like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Remember when that freak Dan Saltman tried to do that with the Ia Cha song, the DPRK song that I played? And he tried to get me banned for playing terrorism music because DPRK is a state sponsor of terror, according to the American State Department. Like, yeah, there is an extent to how much you can push that note. Yeah, I can't believe that they have violent songs. I can't believe they have violent songs about their, liberation movement. Please do not look at the Pledge of Allegiance or any number of different songs that come from the Revolutionary War period. Do not look at that, because that would also be violent, because that's what it is.
Như năm ngón tay trên một bàn tay đã sung trận cả năm người như một. Vào lính sẽ tăng anh trước anh sau, cái đến ở ăn mỗi người một đi.
I'm unironically a return guy, but for like communist agitprop, it makes me so sad. What we have lost. God. Oh, look at the world now. How can you ever look at the world right now as it exists and be like, nah, it's so good. The world would have been better off if there was no USSR. See, we're doing so much better now. We're doing so much better without growing socialism anywhere.
The whole saying here.
This is even if you have to burn the entire Chuang Sơn range, which run from north to south.
Dude, people use clips like this to say you're promoting genocide and all kinds of stupid shit on Twitter. People are so stupid. Yeah, I know, whatever.
We must regain our independence for our country.
This is something that is, I think when you combine it with People's War, with the mythology of resistance, this to me is a message of sacrifice. We sacrifice to at all costs to win our liberation from colonization.
One of the things that later on in my life I learned is when Nixon was writing, there was an exchange of messages from Nixon and Ho Chi Minh, and Nixon was asking the Vietnam to give up because otherwise there will be a lot more atrocities and casualties. And then Ho Chi Minh reply was, Nixon, you don't get it.
You don't get it.
It's not about how much we have to lose. We are willing to lose everything. And yeah, and I think that really speaks to the pain of the people also who have little to lose.
Yeah.
You know, really, for Nixon, I imagine it was a very remote situation where you press a button. Your soul is not in the game, your skin is not in the game. Yeah, maybe your political power is in the game, but that is nothing compared to what we have to lose. Yeah, this is deep in our collective psyche.
Yeah.
And
as
I think
country.
As a country.
And especially as Hanoi.
Yeah. I mean, of course, right, if you lose Hanoi, this is it.
This is it.
Right, it is the central, compared to the metaphor of the central nervous system, this is the brain.
This is the
you
brain.
lose the brain, imagine you lose DC.
North Vietnam wanted to reunify the country under communist rule, while South Vietnam, backed by the US, aimed to maintain its independence. In the South, the Viet Cong, a communist insurgency group supported by the North, launched a guerrilla warfare campaign. The war lasted nearly 20 years and became one of the most brutal of the 20th century.
I do genuinely believe that if China played the role of the USSR right now, I don't think that the Palestinians would be going through what they're going through. Maybe controversial opinion, but like for all of its faults, all of its failures, the USSR did play an active role as like a pole that the global South could look towards, a North Star that they could look towards away from American imperialism, Western imperialism, and that simply does not exist.
Wherever the Americans went, they burned and destroyed and killed.
US troops massacred and raped civilians, dropped napalm and white phosphorus, which roasted the skin of victims, and used chemical agents like Agent Orange, which inflicted illness on those exposed. Millions of Vietnamese soldiers and civilians were killed or wounded. The war ended in 1975 when North Vietnamese troops captured Saigon, leading to the reunification of Vietnam.
Determined to protect every inch of the socialist country.
Yeah, since post the war, post the unification, so it's not just the army soldier, but also the workers and then people from different nations, different tribes and so on. Everybody, right? Yeah. This is important photos too. It's a classic, a young boy with a flute on a buffalo, right? And this is peace, simplicity.
Simplicity. This is what we fought for, the right to do this.
But I think the thing that now I'm questioning is it a peaceful time?
Are we in a peaceful time?
Yeah, that I don't know, right? On the surface, yes.
Yes, there's prosperity.
Right.
You're not colonized by a foreign power that's invading and occupying.
Correct.
But you are dealing with another ism that is very powerful.
Correct.
And that's capitalism. You're gonna be my
Grab driver.
My Grab driver.
In Saigon because I have a bike here. Five fingers. That's what we call it. And then they keep getting more. Right. The Hanoian are proud about the culture and the heritage and the history, 1,000 years old, right?
Yeah.
And Saigon is relatively...
much more influenced by outside forces.
Yeah.
It seems that Saigon's heart is made of money, and there's nothing that's not for sale.
Under the French, Saigon was known as the Paris of the Orient. It was the economic powerhouse and center of commerce and trade. This made it a much more cosmopolitan and diverse city, drawing in more foreigners and making it more westernized. And this continued during the war with the Americans.
Good morning, Vietnam!
It's the joy and the sorrow of the city too, because you need to throw away a lot of things if you want to be open to new things. I don't think Hanoi understands that.
Hanoi hasn't experienced that kind of loss.
Yeah, Hanoi experienced a different kind of loss.
Different kind of loss, but not like this.
Not like this.
Despite its appearance on the surface, sprawling beneath the city is its undeniable revolutionary history.
We're in the middle of a neighborhood. You can tell everybody's selling something else.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were here, you wouldn't expect to find a military base for the resistance against the Americans.
Yeah, and that's the whole point.
This is a very traditional Saigonese home.
Yeah.
But there's more that meets the eye. Where would the resistance fighters, the liberation fighters, stay?
We are not going to be very public about it.
Okay. It's here.
It's right in the center of the living room. Look at this. And you can barely see, right? You can barely see that it's actually a little bit of a cover up.
Oh my God.
Look at this.
It's a tunnel.
It is a tunnel. And you can follow us to...
Oh my God, this is amazing.
And so this is what's happening in where you are.
Yeah. The levels to this are insane.
Yes, be careful. It's meant to be tiny.
I forget where I read this, but I remember reading something about how like the Vietnamese war fighters like implemented a lot of guerrilla techniques, specifically tunnel warfare, and so did the DPRK. And those techniques have literally been implemented by Iran and also by the Palestinian resistance as well. You wouldn't fit? Yeah, no. Yes, Vietnam is Hamas. They also have a Hamas tunnel.
Wow. Wow. Oh my God. This is amazing.
It's quite well equipped.
It really is. You have everything.
Oh yeah,
and
here
so
it is.
people used to live here and basically spend their entire time here.
Yeah.
In the 1970s, PLO fighters trained in Vietnam. They translated works by the Vietnamese general Vo Nguyen Giap into Arabic to sharpen their strategy. Palestinian groups like Fatah and PFLP studied the Vietnamese revolution. They saw it as a blueprint for guerrilla warfare against militarily superior Israeli forces, just as Vietnam fought the U.S. Communist-led North Vietnam built ties to the Palestinian Liberation Organization in 1968, years before most countries did. In 1988, Vietnam formally recognized the state of Palestine. Dude, this is part of the reason why America did everything in its power to beef up Israel, and Israel did everything in its power to destroy the secular revolutionary movements amongst the ranks of the Palestinian liberation groups, because they had a network, dude. They had a network. They had a network of people that were organized. They had a network of people that were incredibly well read. Not to say that like people in the current militancy are not well read. They are, but they had a network of people that would span all the way to the Japanese Red Army. As I've talked about before, I was trying to interview former Japanese Red Army people that like famously took over, because they do so. They would take over planes like crazy. That was the name of the game. These dudes would constantly take over planes. Back in the day, you could just like bring a gun to a plane. Shit was wild. But there was basically a major network built around socialist revolutionary militancy that created this underlying educational base for militancy against colonial superpowers all around the world. Uncool from an aviation perspective, yes, it's true.
Waiting for the news.
Waiting for the news, planning military operations. And I mean, look, I can basically almost touch both walls.
Yeah, we read this article when it first came out.
And most importantly,
Hamas is more Viet Cong than ISIS. Faced with Israel's technological and military superiority, Hamas's military wing, the Al-Qassam Brigade, has turned Gaza into a haven for guerrilla war. Yeah.
Uncle Ho.
Uncle Ho.
He's a beating
Uncle
heart.
Ho.
Like you look at him and you have your morale boosted. And this is why many people were living for it. This was the face of the liberation and the face of the raison d'être of the people.
Of the people. Wow. Incredible.
Holy fuck. The Al-Qassam Brigades, Hamas military wing, have released footage showing an operation to rescue Israeli hostages from a tunnel that was bombed by Israel a few days ago. This video could significantly shift Israeli public opinion regarding the fate of the hostages. No, I don't think it will. Considering that this video came out 4 days ago, and I have only just now seen it. This is from Rami Abdul, assistant professor of law and finance, chairman of Euromed, Human Rights Monitor. But yeah, I didn't even see this, and I suspect that the reason why I didn't see this is because like they did not publicize this heavily. If Ethan brings up Destiny on Friday, you need to back out. Do you already know how you'll respond? He's not going to do that. I don't think he's going to do that because he's not going to fully. He is not going to. He's not going to openly show that he is willing to collaborate with Destiny or Dan Saltman. I mean, he will entertain collaborating with Dan Saltman, but probably Boner Box. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I don't even have a problem with Destiny or Dan Saltman. It's just like I can't talk to them while I'm live on Twitch, and I'm not gonna not do this live on Twitch.
Incredible that I'm saying your past, which is these tunnels.
Yeah, I saw this video as well. This is a good video.
This is what people in Palestine are doing right now, living in tunnels, fighting colonization.
Yeah. Wow.
There's no conscription in North Vietnam.
Yeah, because I think he wants to do a oh no Sam Cedar, what a nightmare moment, which wouldn't work like that because I would instantly start shitting on him. The problem is I would get banned most likely, and that's, you know, I don't want to. And Twitch has openly stated that if such a thing were to happen, I would get banned, for the record. But he even said he wouldn't do it, and I have to trust his word. I have to take his word on it. There's not much I can do. Plus, he can destroy me. He can destroy me in the marketplace of ideas anyway. He can destroy me on his own in the marketplace of ideas. He's a brilliant debater. He took down Sam Cedar today. I'm genuinely, I'm terrified. I'm scared. He's smarter than me and hotter. He's got it all.
Soldiers are volunteers.
It's
and
on
behind
Friday,
the
chatters.
army, there's a whole nation at arms. This, then, is a people's war.
The US and southern Vietnamese forces were much better equipped, but the Viet Cong had an extensive network of tunnels running through the south. Some networks spanned 200 kilometers through enemy territory and were used to plan and launch attacks, transfer supplies, and provide shelter and communication to guerrilla fighters.
War against an elusive enemy.
The fact that the Viet Cong were embedded among civilians meant they were a harder enemy to fight.
Can you please answer my question comparing DPRK's situation to Vietnam when it comes to idolatry or cult of personality? Uncle Ho pictures? What are they, some kind of monarchy? I really don't get why people cut through the Kim Il-sung smearing when they can't recognize that people like Uncle Ho deserve the veneration. Can you please answer my question comparing DPRK's situation? Yeah, it's a really easy answer. One became a country that was like completely shut off from the rest of the world. The other one actually won the war. That's the only problem. If Kim Il-sung had won and Korea was a unified nation state, they probably would resemble Vietnam right now. They'd probably be even more advanced than Vietnam at this moment. Like significantly more, actually. Whether Kim Il-sung was the GOAT, what are you talking about? I'm not disparaging Kim Il-sung. I'm simply talking about the Kim family and you know their way of governance. Vietnamese revolutionary smiling after being sentenced to 20 years of labor camp by the fascist South Vietnamese puppet regime in 1968. She replied to the judge, "Your regime won't last that long." And she was right. Happy Victory Day. She spent 6 years in a labor camp before the fascist U.S. puppet regime fell, and she was freed. That photo became known as the Smile of Victory and came to symbolize the many Vietnamese women who fought the U.S. empire and won. After the defeat of the genocidal U.S. imperialists, Vo Thi Tang, I don't know how to say her name, retired from the army and became the head of the Women's Union, served in the National Assembly, and also chaired the Vietnam-Cuba Friendship Association.
But that also led to the targeting.
Like this right here, what I'm doing right here, explaining or showing you the successful methods of guerrilla warfare. Okay, successful methods of guerrilla warfare, and the video making these comparisons to Palestinian guerrilla warfare, like Palestinian resistance against Israeli occupation. The reason why a lot of people feel some type of way about one and not the other, or the reason why there's a lot more comfort in being able to openly talk about the North Vietnamese liberation forces and their success is because they won, and also because it was in the rearview mirror, which goes back to the same adage, which is, you know, liberals support every single civil rights movement except the current one. They support every single anti-war protest except the current one. And that's precisely what's happening here. So in a couple years down the line, if Israel can't keep up this unlimited genocide that it has brought about the Palestinian population, and the Palestinian people truly get sovereignty, autonomy, inshallah, one day, okay, most liberals will go back and act as though they were not standing in opposition towards the resistance, and they will actively talk about how heroic these endeavors looked like. Because when you look at instances of violence and war, colonial occupation, as opposed to resistance against said colonial occupation, the unimaginable bloodshed caused by the resistance forces, no matter how traumatizing, no matter how bloody it may be. And October 7 truly is a horrifying incident, okay? But all of that is still nowhere near as horrifying or as bloody as what Israel has done after and what Israel has done before October 7. We're talking about 76 years of brutal occupation, okay? That's precisely the reason why when you talk about slavery as this, like, you know, this morally repugnant thing, this dark stain in American history, this dark stain in Western history, chattel slavery being what I'm talking about, nobody ever brings up the Nat Turner Rebellion as a serious threat, you know? Like, no one would take you seriously if you were to unironically make the argument that, like, the ANC's militancy, including, like, the church bombing that took place that killed 19 people, or the slave rebellions that took place all around the United States of America, like John Brown being a terrorist, if you were to hyper focus on, like, resistance in that regard and not the major wrong that was caused, the major harm that was committed by the practice of slavery, you would look like you're in defense of slavery. Same goes for how we venerate, and we should venerate, resistance against the Nazi regime. Civilian resistance against Nazi regime is hailed as heroic, understandably, because it was heroic. This is precisely the reason why I always say, like, look, I'm not talking about their domestic affairs. I'm not talking about their day-to-day existence, but in terms of, like, making the occupation and the genocide of the Palestinians costly, the Houthis are on the right side of history. Okay, just on that alone, they are on the correct side. They're on the morally correct side. Dare I say, maybe even on the legally correct side in terms of cutting off supply lines into Israel. That is the appropriate measure to take. It's one of the least consequential, least violent ways of trying to deal with the problem.
And massacring of civilians.
Jamais, jamais, ils gagneront cette guerre. Jamais, jamais.
The tunnels remained and were an integral part of the Viet Cong.
I think it's still fair to say that the Confederacy and slavery is still defended. No, I'm talking about liberals. I'm not talking about reactionary weirdos, by the way. So yes, you're right. In the South, John Brown is definitely still seen as an evil terrorist, and I totally understand that because they're losers. Okay, they're stupid ass racist losers. Anyone that still tries to venerate the Confederate soldiers or the Confederacy or the generals or whatever is a giant loser. It's that simple. So yes, I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about liberals. Like, liberals are not going to. Liberals love talking about how the North didn't go far enough, right? Like they always fantasize about how hard they would have fucked over the Confederates if they had the power at the time or whatever. They talk about how they would participate in the Underground Railroad, right? They fantasize about this shit. But then, like, in the real world, there is horrifying settler colonial violence that is happening, that's unfolding right in front of their eyes. But they can't even take a moral stance against it. And that blows my goddamn mind. Yeah, liberals who say Sherman didn't go hard enough have no issue being like Israel should go harder. And that's the problem. That is what I'm talking about. That inconsistency is precisely what I am talking about here when I say liberals that fantasize about being these, like, rebellious revolutionary figures in the real world are very scared of any sort of disruptive anti-imperialist action. They want to constantly put a timeline, the white moderates, as Martin Luther King Jr. correctly pointed out in his letter from Birmingham jail, the white moderate wants to place a timeline on another man's emancipatory journey. The white liberal wants to tell you, here is how you're supposed to resist. Now is not the right time. This is not the right way. So that's precisely why when people say like, oh, how dare you say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. That is not an emancipatory slogan. That's actually a slogan that means you want to kill all Jews. It's like, well, why am I supposed to listen to you in this regard? You clearly are not invested in the cause of Palestinian emancipation. You just simply aesthetically want to stand as though you are side by side with the Palestinians, but you are terrified of them. You secretly do think that they are barbaric and backwards and mass rapists and whatever the fuck. That's it.
Long's eventual victory.
From the tunnel, there's a ladder, and it's supposed to take you to a bathroom.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll all die here.
Oh my God. Hey guys, what's up? And right next to it here is the bedroom of the house. Yeah. And it's like...
I showed somebody a video of Nelson Mandela talking about when violence is justified, and an H3 fan responded with a grok summary, still trying to debunk it. Oh my Lord.
Nobody knows what's happening?
No one knows. And it's such a fundamental part, I think, of what we learn about Vietnam. Is this idea of people's war, of guerrilla warfare, but it does not work if the people don't support it.
Correct.
Because the resistance fighters didn't come from a foreign land. They're from the people. There are aunts, our uncles, our cousins, our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, our fathers. So naturally, they stay with us. They live amongst.
Dude, vanguardist authoritarian tankies do a pretty good job of placing timelines on other people's emancipation/revolutions, though. No, who? What are you talking about? What are you even talking about? Who are you talking about? Who is a vanguardist authoritarian tanky? You're just slapping on words. What the f? Where are these people? What are they saying? Please explain to me. Vanguardist authoritarian tankies, Kamala Harris. The most common critique of communists ever? What do you mean? No. Don't just do vague gesturing towards something that we all are on board with, because I clearly do not understand what you're saying. Use your words. Who are you talking about, and what are they doing in terms of like placing a timeline on other people's emancipation? Are you talking about, like, when you say tankies, are you saying like the Hungarian counter-revolution or something? Like, what are you referencing? Is it the USSR rolling tanks? Is that what we're talking about here? Like, what? I'm giving you help. I'm helping you. I'm helping you come up with a coherent worldview.
Is the ideology just an ideology of liberation, or is it actually communism?
Just think of it, like, people would not fight for
communism
ideology, but you'll fight for your brother and your sister.
Yeah.
People need the...
Chat, he's talking about former Minister of Defense of the Soviet Union, the Great Marshal Georgy Zhukov, liberating Europe from fascism. Why would you put a timeline on that? That was really up. He's saying, don't do that. Do not liberate the concentration camps. Marshal Zhukov, do not liberate the concentration camps, please. There is a different timeline here of when the concentration camps must be liberated, and you are liberating them too fast, sir. Don't do it. Don't do it, sir. You're liberating them too fast. Too much winning, sir. Don't do it, Zhukov. You must liberate slower. Dude, what is it? Is like the 101 anti-communist position of every non-communist revolutionary, Hasan? I don't know what you are. I'm more confused. Oh, are you saying you are LARPing as an anti-communist? Is that what you're saying?
The conviction of...
Chatter mad they didn't take all of Germany, leaving the West to suffer. True. a real unification of Germany must have happened.
Political leader.
Yes.
That, yes, with this direction of this person, we can make it. But it's not the reason we fight.
We fight. Interesting. Yeah. Communism, in a way, lends itself very strongly to Vietnam because it's already a very community-based, family-based structure.
Yeah.
The us is stronger than the me.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, people are not fighting for communism.
Yeah.
People are fighting for liberation.
Yeah.
They're fighting for freedom and self-determination together.
You see the lotus? This is our national flowers. One of the teaching of the Vietnamese Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, very well-known teaching, is no mud, no lotus.
No mud, no lotus.
The Vietnamese wouldn't be who they are without their history of expelling mighty army after mighty army. But the traumas that come with resistance and liberation...
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little disappointed in this video. I actually did think that they were gonna talk about the history and also all the cool things that the North Vietnamese forces did, or even like the espionage they engaged in South Vietnam. And most of it is just like, look at how beautiful it is. It's like almost he's flexing on the Palestinian guy. He's like, this is what you can have one day. I'm kidding. He's not doing that. But it's a good video, but I did think that it was going to be more like nerdy military shit.
Remain.
30th of April will be the reunification day. And people have been told by people of the previous generations who said that during that time in 1975, right? And you begin to see that something is different in the city. And then on the very last day, you hear the helicopters and you don't know what was going on.
Yeah, wow. It was the sound of liberation.
Wow, it's the sound of something sinister is coming for the one living in the south.
As North Vietnamese forces approached Saigon, Vietnamese people in the south began trying to flee, while the US conducted the largest helicopter evacuation in history.
The city was suddenly choked with people, lorries and cars, all chasing one American evacuation convoy after the other.
They didn't know what was coming.
They didn't know what's going on.
But liberation was coming. Reunification was coming.
From the north perspective.
From the north perspective.
Yeah.
And for the south?
For the south, it's the destruction of everything they know.
So even reunification was a violent process.
Oh yeah.
Once Saigon was captured, the war was officially over. But what was left was a country devastated by war. It's estimated that 2/3 of the villages in the south had been destroyed, with millions of refugees both in the country and fleeing.
When we talk about the prison, the Hoa Lo prison in Hanoi, I was saying that it was a reminder of that peace was very fragile. Huh? I think this one more than anything, because prison is a sign of captivity and about breaking free.
Yeah.
This is different. This is about the magnitude of how far humanity can go in both directions.
Extreme violence to oppress and extreme violence to liberate.
Yeah. And you know, the weirdest thing is, growing up, I also heard of the American dream and I followed my American dream. So there is this weird psychodynamics of, there's a part of us learning that American was a bad guy, but we're not believing it because there's also the American, there's an American dream. So there was that tiny conflict.
You know, you saying that, you have an American fighter bomber plane behind us.
Wow, it's massive.
It's massive, but at the same time, what's happening in Saigon is essentially the arrival of the American dream here.
Yeah.
With the hyper-capitalism that we're seeing around us.
Yeah.
I'll ask you this, did America ever leave?
After almost 10 years of economic hardship and post-war Vietnam, the ruling Communist Party transitioned the country to a more capitalism-friendly economic model, and it transformed the country.
Look at the tower up here.
The poverty rate fell from over 70% in the 1980s to around 5% by 2020, lifting millions of people out of poverty. Today, Vietnam is one of the fastest.
Just got a Hasanabi YouTube notification. What did I post? What the f did I post now? Wait, really? I didn't post shit. I was excited. I thought the editors were cooking my reaction to the Sam Cedar What a Nightmare video, but I guess not. It's just a short. God damn it. The new short is really popping off.
Growing economies in Southeast Asia. And nowhere is that more apparent than in Saigon.
You can already see the kites being flown against the backdrop of a very booming metropolitan city. This is a place our friend comes almost every day. This is essentially used to be the jungle.
It's a jungle, yeah.
And then concrete.
And then now you see concretes are
just building up.
Nobody knows how many more years all this will be filled with skyriser. For now, we still have people playing kite.
After centuries of fighting invaders, the country has only been at peace for 50 years. And while invasion the way it once looked isn't on the horizon, there are new battles taking place. Battles for the essence of the country moving forward.
We are performing comedy for these guys. 3, 2, 1.
Yes.
Ah!
No! Vietnam wasn't free in one day. It took many centuries.
That's true.
No! I think they just flew us now.
I think so.
Do they have any tips for us? Ah! No! Keep running!
We look at these high rises and we ask ourselves, is it what we want to see? And if we cannot stop that from happening, then at least we can do our thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think my flying kite is revolutionary per se.
It is. You're the generations before you fought, so you could be the boy on the buffalo playing your flute. You are the boy playing with the kite now, and now there's a new disturbance of the peace. And it's this.
This is the disturbance of the peace.
Yes.
And this is the restoration of the peace.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you're right. This in itself is an act of defiance. I'm going to come to the park.
Yeah.
I'm going to slow down.
Yes.
Because hyper-capitalism is going to drive me to want to produce.
Yeah, and do
to
work.
Move and to do work.
And meet the deadline. We are protecting the peace that we know is already here.
Yeah.
And it's not like we are fighting against anybody, but the act of creating a time and a space for this kind of peace is, I find, is a continuation of what we already know.
Yeah. It's so beautiful.
It is so beautiful, right? I'm like
it's one of it. This is to me is
so
very
moving.
magical. It's very magical.
So to have the magic and the enchantment return, or not lost.
Yeah.
This is the protector in me, right?
Yeah.
You know, Uncle Ho and friends has protected the country.
So
now we
you,
protect the essence of it.
And you protect the essence of it. I think along my journey from north to south, I learned a lot about what my future could be from your past and present, not just from your past.
Yeah.
I'm a Jew who used to feel like Israel was necessary and would defend them. Know many people who have fought in the IDF and moved here. Your broadcast has changed my mind over time to full anti-Zionism. When people ask why you repeat yourself about different things, it's sometimes needed to get through to someone. So honestly, thank you. I stopped watching for a while after October 7th, and slowly the wheels started to click into place. You watching The King right now, Lagoat? You should look into the case of Brooke SB versus Elizabeth CC. Crazy. I just got whiplash from heartfelt recognition of having your mind change to you watching Lagoat not right now. Yeah, no, that is why I do it. That is why I do consistently repeat myself. That's why I repeat myself over and over again, because I know it's worth it. Because somewhere along the way, people will be like, you know what, this keeps repeating himself, but like I think he might be right. You know, but that wouldn't go anywhere if it wasn't for the open-mindedness of people like yourself, Chatter. So it's great. 4-1 T-Wolves, big dog. Okay, everybody calm down. Okay, this is... Okay, first of all, I didn't want to pull this card, but one, this is ageism, and two, it's elder abuse. If it happens, it's elder abuse. It really is. You can't whip around a 40-year-old man. Like that's actually up. Okay. I'm saying it's messed up what people are doing, especially young blood in the NBA, young talent in the NBA that don't step aside and allow kings to thrive when they're in their peak. It's kind of messed up. There's no respect anymore. There is no respect for age any longer.
Because what I take with me is not just liberation, but it's how do you build a country post-liberation.
Yeah.
And I think this has been...
Yeah.
It's been a learning journey. It's been a growing journey. It's been a healing journey because I feel the peace and I feel at ease. And I also feel some of its disturbances.
And my wish for you...
LeBron is almost a House Oversight Committee age. Okay, chill. Okay, he's not that old, bro. But if he wanted to, he could. I'm just saying he'd probably be the GOAT of the Oversight Committee.
Is to keep that imagination. Keep that space of possibilities. Right?
Yeah.
I think the ultimate act of colonization is a colonizing of the imagination.
You're absolutely right.
You don't know what's possible anymore.
Yeah, radical imagination.
Radical imagination.
Yeah. Amazing. Brother.
And this is that.
It's that. Yeah.
This is the kite.
Love it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay.
Ready? 1.
Wait, yeah.
2, 3.
Yes.
Yes.
Coming up this time.
Can you compliment me too? I've always hated Israel, but my grandpa called me a human clownfish today. I need support. That's awesome. That's such a cool thing. That's like a cool diss to get from grandpa. Respect. Hasan Reactions, one of the best ones in the React channel.